to today's webinar. Just a few things to go through before we get started here. We are recording this webinar as always, so if you miss anything or if you want to review anything, we'll be sending you a link on your so you can review it on your own time, a YouTube link. You can check that out. We are streaming as well live on YouTube. Just so you're aware, we won't be answering any comments from the YouTube stream there, just because we're using Zoom webinar. So we have a special Q&A panel for Zoom. So that kind of goes with the next topic here. We are going to be having a Q&A section at the end of this webinar. So if you have any questions, feel free to just give me a shout, let me know, and I'll be happy to answer those questions for you. And we'll spend the last 10 minutes, 20 minutes or so of the webinar taking care of all your questions. Okay, and I think, yeah, we are also going to be sending out a survey for this webinar, after this webinar. So if you have any feedback, any topics you want to cover in the future, I highly recommend you fill out that survey, and we'll give you a 10% discount coupon for the content store as a thank you for filling out that survey for us. Yeah, and I think that about covers all the bases. So thanks again, everyone, for attending. Let's take a look. We have this one special content store weekly special. I'm going to send the link for this in the chat window. Just be aware, I'm not going to be answering any questions from the chat window. Put any of your questions in the QA window there, QA panel, and I'll get them taken care of a little bit later on. Hello, Phineas from Chiang Mai. Cool. I am over here on the West Coast in Vancouver, Canada. All right, so that's the link I put in the chat window for you guys. If you need any football moves kind of stuff, this is a really good pack. I've used this pack before for different projects. So a lot of really cool football motions. You can use them for Cartoon Animator 4 characters. Yeah, so that's really about all there is to it. $5, might as well pick it up, right? Throw it in the content, throw it in your cart, I guess. All right, cool. So let's go really quickly through the outline here. You've probably already read this, but I just kind of want to review before we get started. So to start, we're going to talk about Sprite Hands versus Bone Hands. In case you didn't know, with the latest 4.2 update of Cartoon Animator 4, we now have the option for bone hands on our characters. So we can manipulate and animate individual finger parts. All right, pretty cool stuff. We're going to talk about animating character hands with the hand key editor. So we're going to just kind of do a little bit of keyframe editing on a motion here. And then we're going to be talking about the Leap Motion Mocap for probably about the last half of the live demo. So we're going to talk about how to get it set up, how to animate characters, and using it to control bone-driven characters, and basically everything Leap Motion that you want to know. We'll be covering in this webinar. And if there's something that's not covered, you can feel free to ask me, and I'll answer that question for you. Okay, cool. So I think that's about it. Let's go ahead and close down the old Google Chrome there. Okay, so first of all, we're going to start with talking about the difference between sprite characters and hand bone characters. Okay, so let's go over here to our actor tab. I'm going to press Control-1 here just to expand our. By the way, you can press Control-1 to toggle between all these different views in your content manager. Okay, let's get a couple of characters on the screen. Let's get Martha, and we'll get her good friend Phil over here in just a sec. So I'm going to demonstrate the difference between these two types of characters. Let's do Roger here. He has a cool spandex outfit, so I'll just throw him in there. All right, and okay, let's get a little bit closer. Don't be so shy. There we go. Cool. All right, so let's take a look at basically both these characters on the screen right now have sprite hands. Okay, so if I go over here to the sprite editor, you'll see that we have, if we select our character's hands, we have a whole hand sprite library. We can change these sprites to thumb, Kimbo, pick. This is the previous way that we animated hands in Cartoon Animator 4, in the previous versions of Cartoon Animator. Okay, so you can see all the results there. You can do this hand as well. You can do the one, fist, yada, yada. Okay, and Martha has the exact same thing. So she has the one, maybe her hands are a bit lighter, but you get the point. Okay, so what we're going to do is close that down, and we're going to swap one of them. We're going to swap Roger here. We're going to swap his hands for bone hands. Okay, so the easiest way to do that is go up here to your composer mode. Okay, just click on that, and it'll load up your character in composer mode. Dun, dun, dun. And then we need to go to our content manager here. And in the content manager, we go to the body section. And in body, we have hands. We have G3, since this is a G3 character. And we're going to go to bone hands and bone G360 human, G3360 human. Okay, and we'll just throw on these palm facing front hands to our character. Now, this doesn't really matter. This is just your character's default hand pose. Okay, so I always just use the palm front because I think it works fine for most situations. Okay, so you'll see his hands move or change suddenly, and now we have these bones in the hands. Okay, you can choose to show or hide the bones. Okay, I'm up here, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Now he is a fully functional bone hand character. We'll probably come up with a better name than bone hand character later on, but that's what they're called for now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to apply a couple of animations to our characters, the same animations. We're going to go to our animation tab over here under perform under G3360. We have a couple of animations, this Roger positive animation. Okay, let's apply it to Martha first. She's going to have a male voice, and it's just temporarily here. Okay, double click on that.
Yes, sir. Pancake's coming right up.
Okay, so there's your typical motion there. Now, if we can go back to frame 1 and apply the same thing to Roger. Okay, just like this. And it'll come up with a notification here that this character contains, or this character is a bone hand character, and sprite hand animation data will not be applied to it. Okay, so you can just click on no more. You can click on don't show it again, but I still have a couple tutorials maybe to do on this. So I'll just keep that keep that up and press OK. And you'll see the difference.
Yes, sir. Pancake's coming right up.
Okay, so it looks a little bit weird because his hands are just kind of flat and facing us. So we're going to talk about how to adjust that right off the bat here. Okay, let's go make our project length slider a little shorter here. There we go. Okay, and I'll just take off the actor voice right now because we don't want to hear that Pancake's coming right up like repeatedly. Okay. All right, so we have these two characters on screen. The problem we want to fix here is how to change Roger's hands so that they fit the motion that we want to have, the hand motion that we want to have on Martha there. Okay, let's go ahead and close the content manager for now. And let's press F3 and actually, we don't need to open up the timeline. We'll do it anyways. Okay, we just need to focus on Roger for now. We'll close down Martha. I like to use this object related track option here. And we're going to go into the 2D motion key editor. Okay, so in the 2D motion key editor, move it over here for now. We have an option up here. This is a new option for hand pose editor. Okay, so hand pose editor, there we go. Click and drag, click and maybe drag that over here. That's fine. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to focus on getting Roger's hands the same as Martha's hands. What I like to do is just generally make the bones invisible for our character. So I'll click on this up here and deselect show bone. Okay, because those big yellow bones get in the way. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use this hand pose editor to create the animation for the hands. And this is a really easy way to do it. So let's go ahead and just, we don't even need to select the hands. We can just go ahead here, apply to both hands, left hand or right hand. You don't necessarily need to select them from your bone hierarchy over here. If you just select both hands and we go to natural, we can use this caress up here, and you can see it'll apply to its hands, but they're kind of facing the wrong way. So let's go over to this one here. There's up flip, and we'll just apply it to this one here. There you go. And so now the hands are the same on both sides. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, so then we'll go up like this and pay close attention to whenever Martha's hands change. So Martha's hands change, her left hand will change at frame 10. So we go up here, frame 10, frame 9. You'll see it'll change to a fist. All right. So let's apply this to the left hand. Let's go over here to hold, and let's apply a fist for our character there, left hand fist. All right, there we go. We can also use this one here. I think this one might be a bit more accurate. There we go. Yeah, this one's just kind of slightly angled differently. Okay, So now he's from here. So now you'll see it'll actually create a transition from here to here. So notice the difference between the sprite hand and the bone hand here. The sprite hand will just switch the sprite right there. But the bone hand, the fingers will gradually go into place, okay? And that's what you want to do. You want to kind of keep it like that. And we'll just take a quick look at her left hand here as well. Or sorry, her right hand. If we go to frame 7, her right hand changes to a different one here. So we'll go click on right hand for Roger. And we'll go to over here. I think we'll use this one here, natural. No, it's facing slightly different this way. There you go. Okay, so notice it'll have the keyframes here that'll appear in your timeline under the right hand facing, left hand facing. Okay, so there we go. And zoop, up with the fist, and hot diggity dog. And then over here, it'll switch back to from here to here. Notice her left hand will change at frame 58. It'll change to this hand. So we're going to find that over here. This one right here, we'll choose the character's left hand and caress, I think, or no, we'll have it facing this way a little bit. There you go. I'm going to move my zoom thing out of the way here. There we go. All right, so now the hands are correct. And you'll see it'll just kind of go like that. However, the issue here is that, see, because we didn't add a keyframe before that, the fist will immediately, the fist on the left hand right here, the left finger, from frame 10 here all the way to frame 58, it'll gradually start, crunching up a little bit, gradually start clenching, and gradually release. So what we need to do is we need to select the keyframe on the left finger T track right here, okay? Right click that keyframe and copy it. And then we're gonna paste it to, however many frames before we want 58. So maybe like here, we'll paste that. Okay, so now it'll be clenched. His left hand will be clenched from frame 10 all the way to frame 55 or so, 54, I think it is. And then from 54, notice now that we have a smoother transition from 54 to 58. Okay, so we have that. Cool. All right, and then we'll stay like this, and then I think that's about it. That's the last change. Oh. Here we have a change on her right hand. That frame right there. So we'll change his right hand to this caress. There we go. Okay, and again, before you do that, you should generally it'll just have a slight change. You can see the fingers on the right hand slightly changing. Not a big deal there. Okay, barely noticeable. And but the character's left hand definitely needs to change at some point. So right here is where it changes. Frame 94. So we'll take his left hand and move the left hand to this caress here as well. Perfect. Okay, so now all the hand stuff is the same. And these last ones, I'm not sure why that happens, but we can just delete both of those left facing and right facing keyframes right there. Okay, and there we go. So now we have the exact same hand animation for both characters. And we can hear them talk again this time.
Yes, sir. Pancake's coming right up. Yes, sir. Pancake.
Okay, cool. So that's basically how you can kind of imitate the sprite-based hand switching. But again, the bone hand switching, or the bone hand animation, you can actually create smooth transitions between these hand poses. Okay, so and if you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to demonstrate again at the end of this webinar. But that's kind of just the basics there. Very important to note that. All right, so let's go ahead and close down the hand pose editor now. All right, and we're good to go. What I'm going to do now is kind of show you how you can use the 2D motion key editor to kind of just animate the hands a little bit more. We're going to just change them a little bit. So what we can do here is with our motion clip, if we go to our motion track right here, you see we have this Roger positive. If we let's bring up our timeline a little bit more here. And we don't need Martha in the scene, so we'll close this down and delete Martha now. Bye, Martha. All right, so we can focus on Roger now. Roger's the hand bone dude. So what I'm going to do is we have all these keyframes here under our hands, like hand facing left, hand facing right, hand transform and stuff like that. What we can do is if we're happy with that, we're happy with the modifications we made, we can right click on our clip there and we can select flatten motion clip. And what flatten motion clip will do is that'll actually bake all of the animation that we just created. Okay, so now you can see here, we still have the facing data, but that doesn't really matter.
Pancakes coming
Okay?
right up.
But all the finger transform data has been baked into that clip. And that's what we want to do. Okay, we can actually, I believe, delete this, these keyframes right here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can just delete them anyways. Maybe not that one.
Cakes.
Nope. Okay. Keep those hand keyframes in, facing hand keyframes in, just for now. Okay. We'll probably have a way to bake those in the future. But for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and modify this. I'm going to kind of emphasize the animation on this positive, it's called Pancake positive or something animation. Okay, so we're going to again use the keyframe editor, 2D keyframe editor here, and a 2D motion key editor rather. And after we're done this, we're going to get right into the leap motion stuff. So just bear with me here. I just want to show you a couple of cool ways to really emphasize your animation. And the first thing we're going to do is when our character brings his hands up like this, we're going to emphasize that hand. We're going to stretch it a little bit. So you can see here, he does like a little whoop like that. And what I want to do is I want to make it stretch further. So I'm going to go ahead and over here in my 2D motion key editor, use stretch bone. Okay, I'll show you that why in just a moment here. So let's first start a keyframe right here. Okay, at frame 21, it looks like. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select full body. I'm just going to set a full body keyframe. Okay, it doesn't really matter. You can select more specific stuff, but I'm just going to press reset here. Oops, sorry, not reset. We're going to set key. Control Z that. We're going to set a key. Do not press reset because reset's going to reset your hand data. Okay, so let's just press set key. Okay, and you can see that adds a keyframe in our finger tracks. But again, here we're focusing on the elbow and the arm track, or yeah, right here. Okay, so we'll click on the elbow and we're going to close down all the facing tracks. This is our left forearm that we've clicked on right here, and we can click on our left hand. Okay, you can see left hand transform. So we've added a keyframe on the left hand. And what I'm going to do at this point here, we're going to stretch that left hand and that left forearm. Okay, so let's get the right finger out of there, right hand facing. Just focus here on the left forearm and the left hand. So if we take this hand right here and a couple frames after we added that keyframe, maybe frame 25 or something, or 24, and we try to move it, you can see with human IK, it'll just basically, we can't move it any further than it is right now. We can go from here to here, but we can't move it any further left. So we can't really stretch it out. And what I want to do is I want to stretch it out to emphasize it more. Okay, so you can see when I moved it, it added the keyframe in the left hand track and it added the left forearm as well because we're modifying all of those. Also the left arm, I think it would modify. But what I want to do is activate stretch bone here. Okay, so once I activate stretch bone, then I have the option to stretch it. Now you can see I can stretch it way out here. Okay, you don't want to stretch it too far, but you can just really stretch the hand bone like this. And we can take the forearm here and stretch the forearm there as well. So we'll stretch it from here. All right, and now we have the hand. It looks normal here, but now it's stretching out like that. Okay, and then what we can do is from here, we can add another keyframe, just a set key, okay, on the full body. And then we'll go a couple of frames later and we'll press reset. For this one, we want the selected part only. Okay, so this one we only want the forearm here. Reset that. Okay, and the upper arm right there. Reset that, and I think the hand can be reset as well there. Okay, great. So we have it stretching out like this. Stretches a lot, so it makes it a bit more dynamic. Okay, and you can do this with your motion capture as well. So if you have you capture something with your leap motion, you want to stretch it out, this is the way to do it. Okay, using that stretch bone, and there you go. Great. It looks like we need to change our hand facing keyframe there as well. I think we when we press reset, it adjusts that hand facing data. So right here, yeah, we'll just delete that. Okay, there you go. So when you press reset, you have to make sure that you delete the hand facing keyframe that it adds there as well. So to avoid any changes, okay, because it'll reset your hand facing there. Okay, so let's go ahead to the next one. We're going to just make a really quick peace symbol over here on his left hand when he goes over here. We're just going to change this from a relaxed hand to a peace symbol. Okay, so from there to there, let's go ahead and just use that same process, the same hand pose editor. And we're going to use this hand facing right here. This one should be fine. And number, there's a number 2, like number 2B, which is like this. Right. So then from here, you can see we have that problem where the hands will kind of twist and be all weird and stuff. And that's what I mentioned earlier with the left finger. We have to keep that keyframe further ahead. Okay. So this is our last left finger keyframe. So we're going to right click and copy that. And then we're going to move over here. And to avoid all this weird twisting, we're going to paste that keyframe over here. Okay. So then what's going to happen is the left hand is going to remain at this keyframe, and then that's going to switch like that. Okay, maybe even a little bit further over. You kind of want it to be in combination with the switch, and yeah, just like that. There you go. All right. You can also use the hand flip as well, but we're just going to work with this for now. Okay, there you go. And this may be frame right here. We can go ahead and select our character's hands. Let's go to the hierarchy view and select the finger that we want here. Go into the, let's show the bones in this case. I just have to change this little dude over a little bit. Okay, so sometimes it'll take some custom keyframe editing just so it doesn't look really weird and twisted. Okay, so then we'll have this. Okay, and at that point, we can also just take the hand. Let's go to image, back to image view here. Take the hand and set a keyframe for the hand. And then here we can maybe twist it a little bit more like this. Okay, so then we're going to have this left hand transform track right here, from here to here. He'll be holding the peace symbol a bit more upwards, just like that. And then we'll copy that keyframe. And maybe about here, we want to, because you'll see when it goes down here, it looks really weird. So we don't want that. We want it to be at this point, we'll paste it. And then here, we can just press reset on it. Okay, there you go. That's fine. Oh, no, we don't want to reset the hand pose there. Just like this. And the hand, left hand, we'll need to just change it back to something like this. There you go. That'll work. Okay, so it doesn't look all weird. Okay, cool. So we've just done a couple of modifications using keyframe editing to our hands there. So let's go ahead and pull it back really quick. So we have that arm stretch and then the peace symbol and back down like that. Okay, cool. And then again, if you want, you can just right click on your clip there and you can select flatten motion clip and flatten all those keyframes. So then all those keyframes will disappear, except for the hand facing ones. Okay, and that's probably something we'll have to get fixed a little bit later on, but same result. There you go. Okay, so let's go into the leap motion stuff now. We're going to spend the last part of the webinar talking about leap motion animation. So we'll close down our timeline and let's just start a new project here. Okie dokes. And let's go to make sure our content manager is up. I think we can use Roger again. Roger seems to be a pretty cool dude. All right, so leap motion intro. If you're not familiar with the leap motion controller, let's go into Firefox here and check it out. So this is a piece of hardware, very inexpensive. It's only about $100, less $100 Canadian, less US. And basically it just sits on your desktop, and you can do all sorts of hand animation with this little guy. It's really awesome, really useful for a lot of different scenarios. You can check this webpage out on your own time if you want. I'll paste this in the chat window for you guys. Here we go. Whoops. There we go. Okay, so this is the Leap Motion Controller. You can buy it off like Amazon for like $100, like I mentioned. Very easy, inexpensive, and quick tool to use. Highly recommend picking it up. All right, so that's that. What else is gonna? Okay, we're gonna basically talk about setting it up. So we'll close down this right now. To set up your Leap Motion Controller, once you've installed it, there's a little application here. You can click that. It's called your Leap Motion Control Panel. And there's a couple things you want to do before you get started in Cartoon Animator. You want to make sure you, in the General tab, you want to make sure you select Allow Web Apps. Okay, this is very important. And in the Troubleshooting tab, you want to make sure you select Low Resource Mode. Okay, these are just two things that generate the best performance in Cartoon Animator. So those are two things you want to make sure you select. Okay, and then there's a diagnostic visualizer, which we'll use. We'll go ahead and first of all apply this stuff. Okay, you have to make sure you apply. And diagnostic visualizer, you can see there's me. That's my face from a downwards from a downwards perspective, or from a lower perspective there. All right, so if you don't want that image, if you don't want, there's my hands. Okay, you can throw your hands in there. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, there's both hands. You can see my hands. Blah, blah, blah. So everything is pretty good already. If you don't want to see like a really unflattering view of your face, you can press the F hotkey there, and this will cycle image mode. Okay, so I like to have this off because I don't like to see my what looks like a double chin there. Okay, and then you can scroll your mouse wheel to zoom in and out, and you can right click to pan back and forth, and left click to rotate around your view. Okay, so pretty simple stuff. Really not much to go on here. I mean, there's a few things that you need to notice here for the different options for the diagnostic visualizer. I'll show you my hands. There's my hands. You can create really cool rainbows like this if you move your hands around like that. So you can see the tracking is very good, right? It's, I mean, basically, I just have this little device on my desktop, and the tracking is quite excellent. You can move individual fingers very well and very easily. Okay, pretty cool stuff. Let's take a look at how we get this into Cartoon Animator. I'm gonna make my visualizer a bit smaller here. We'll take it down, down, down over here. And Cartoon Animator, let's go ahead and go to our plugins. You can also up here probably find your Motion Live plugin. Most people have it up here on the toolbar, unless you specifically decide not to. Or you can go to Plugins and Motion Live 2D. There we go. All right, so this is our Motion Live 2D plugin that allows for all the different devices to be streamed, the data to be streamed into Cartoon Animator 4 and applied to our characters. And for now, we're going to focus on the Leap Motion Controller right here. So we'll click that little circle there, and boom, it becomes green. That means it's activated. Simple as that, okay? And then you have your character selected down here. You want to go to the hand column, click the hand column, and click Leap Motion Controller. And it says here, the character has sprite hands. To use hand mocap, you need to have bone hands in the composer mode. Okay, I forgot about that. So let's go ahead and back to the composer mode here and give him bone hands. So this is the cool thing about bone hands. So just be aware you cannot use this device with sprite hands. Okay, so same process, just click on the bone hands, add it to the character. Once it's added, go back into stage mode. And then back into your Motion Live plugin and activate Leap Motion Controller. Oops, you need to make sure the character is selected and Leap Motion is selected on the hand. And there we go. Let's go ahead and zoom in on him a little bit so we can see the hands a bit better. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a quick preview first. Preview, space. There you go. There's my hands. Fingers independently being animated. Peace sign. Hang loose. Okay, I'm just doing that myself. Okay, and this is even without any sort of setup. Okay, so it's already pretty decent, but you can see the hands are the fingers are a little bit curved. even though my fingers are straight. And to see that, let's go ahead and take this over here, and we'll have the diagnostic visualizer. So you can see both results live here. Close down the content manager. Let's just get everything set up here. Oops, that's the zoom. Sure why I'm not able to click on this. Oh, yeah, we're in preview mode. Whoops. I got out of preview mode there. Close down the content manager, and let's move this over here. Okay, so that should be good enough. And what I can do here is Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on how to set up your Leap Motion controller. And so to do that, the first thing you want to do is set zero pose, okay? So the first step of any capture is to set a zero pose. This is a reference pose for your capture. There's my hands right there. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a zero pose. And you can see step one like this, step two like this. This is just to calibrate your device, essentially. Okay, give it a reference point for your hands. You can set the countdown timer. 2 seconds is normally sufficient. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. I'm going to put my hands straight out like this. 2, 1, capture. And then put them into fists. 2, 1, and capture. Cool. So now you can see my fingers like this, fine and dandy. All right, so once we've set the zero pose, we're basically good to go. I'm going to go ahead and set, you can set the control mode to hand. We're going to talk about the control mode in a moment here. But there's a couple settings you can adjust here. So you can set finger range over here. This is very important. Set finger range, this little icon on the right here. There's 2 profiles you can select, open palm or closed fist. Let's take a look at open palm first. Okay, and let's preview. Okay, so you can see here, both hands are fine. Now, what I'm going to do before this is you can select your left hand strength. So let's take look at my character's left hand there. My left hand is actually controlling his right hand. So actor left hand, that's my left hand, is controlling the character's right hand. You can see the R right here with the hand. So actor is me, and the R is the character's hand. That's his right hand, okay? So I'm only using the left hand right now. Now, if I open my hand like this, just straight, let's get a bit of an overhead view there. My hand's just straight open like this, clenched, okay, open and clenched. If I open it straight like this, and I select my left hand strength, or right hand strength, sorry, notice that I can bend my fingers backwards or forward. So I can make my default position, like his hands can stretch backwards like that, or forward like that, okay? So sometimes you may want to have it, backwards, like for like Mickey Mouse type characters, they have really exaggerated hands, something like that, okay? What I'll do here is I'll change my hand gesture profile to closed fist. And when you have closed fist, you can have your fist like this, okay? So close your fist. You can increase or decrease the strength like this as well. Okay, so pretty cool. You can clench the fingers more. You can also do the individual fingers here as well. So for the thumb, to make sure we're on the right thumb, not the left thumb. Down here to right thumb. Notice I can clench my thumb further using these individual bones here, okay? So if I wanted a really clenched thumb, I can take all these finger bones further up. Okay, and it's like that. Then my clenched fist is gonna be like this. Whereas if you take a look at my left fist clenched, they're both clenched, but notice that my character's left hand is not as clenched as much, okay? So this is a way to kind of fix that issue where the thumb doesn't really come in, okay? You can adjust that strength in the set finger range there, okay? So if you, let's move this up a little bit so you can see better. You can see my character's left hand, okay? Clenched and open, okay? So the strength is a little bit more on my left hand, or my character's right hand, and clenched, it's a little bit stronger clenched as well, okay? So I've just exaggerated it slightly in both ways. Okay, so that's very important, especially if you want to have your character have like a correctly clenched fist. Very, very important to notice that. So we'll go ahead and close the set finger range thing down now. Okay. So there's different types of control mode here. We'll talk about that right now. Let's just stop previewing, press space here. There's control mode for your hands, your fingers, forearm IK, and upper arm IK. Okay. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change it so, because I'm going to be using my mouse a little bit, I'm going to be changing it so that both of my actors' hands, or both of my characters' hands, are controlled by my left hand. Okay. So actor left hand is controlling the right hand, and also they're both going to be controlled by my left hand. Okay. So right now, both the actors' hands are controlled by my left hand. Sound good? Okay, so once we do that though, we have to set zero pose one more time. Okay, so let's set zero pose here and start really quickly. 2, 1, capture, clench your fist, 2, 1, capture. Okay, so all controlled, both are controlled by my left hand now. Okay, so preview, you can see now they're both controlled. There's only one hand in the little diagnostic visualizer there, but I'm controlling both hands. And notice those strength settings have been retained as well. Notice my thumb is slightly different on the character's left hand. Okay, cool. So that's the hand. So with hand, you can basically just move your hand. You can rotate it like this. You can flip it, okay? Right now, we don't have auto flip selected, so there's auto hand flip. Notice in the visualizer, if I flip my hand like this, nothing happens. It'll stay like that. However, if I have auto hand flip selected and I flip it, the hands will flip. Okay, pretty cool stuff. Okay, we'll use that a little bit later on. Now that's the hand. Let's take a look at the different control modes. The hand and the fingers are only fingers, okay? So with the fingers, even though I rotate my hand, I flip it, whatever, it's only controlling the fingers. All right. So it's only controlling the fingers, nothing else. And we're going to get into some cool stuff now. Forearm IK is really cool. We'll preview this. You can see here, if I move my arm up, it'll actually track my entire forearm. And I can move it like this. I can move it inwards like that. I can like conduct an orchestra like dun, 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 dun. Okay. Pretty cool stuff. You can say like, hey, everyone, magic jazz fingers or magic fingers, whatever you want to call them. Okay. And we have automatic flipping of our characters' arms there as well. So forearm, pretty cool. Next, we'll take a look at upper arm IK. Okay. So preview upper arm IK. This will basically allow us to control our upper arm as well. So you can see in the diagnostic visualizer, my forearm goes up, inwards like this, and I can rotate all the way like that. And my elbows naturally flip to the direction that I want it to. Okay. And there you go. So, hey, everyone, like raise the roof. Okay. I'm not sure if anyone's old enough to remember that raise the roof stuff. But yeah, that's how you can do it. There's also a strength section here. So here I can adjust how far, just like my fingers earlier, I can adjust my hand, the whole upper arm movement strength. Okay. So if I want to change my hands moving left to right, let's change that to a very low value. Notice in the visualizer, my hand is moving left and right, but my character's hands aren't moving left and right. However, if I change that, now they're moving left and right. Okay, very important to note. Okay, if we take it like this, then you can make it really, really strong. Whoa, okay, that's too strong, so you probably want to keep it, you can just double click the text, like hand moving left, right. You can double click that and it'll take it back to 100 value default, okay? All right, cool. You can also do hand moving up and down. If you don't want hand moving up and down very much, then do this. So now it'll only move from side to side. You won't have, even if I move my hand up and down, it will move up and down, okay? And there's also hand rotation, finger rotation. We won't talk about that right now. It's not really important to go through all these settings. I just want to show you the basics because we're kind of limited on time here. I'm just going to take that back to default there. And let's take a look at how you can, so I think we've gone through the basics here. Again, any questions? We have auto elbow wrist flip on, auto hand flip on. And we'll talk about any other questions you have a little bit later. But what I'm going to do first, we're going to stop previewing here. I'm actually going to apply an animation to my character, and we're going to combine our motion capture with that animation. Okay, so what I'll do here is let's go up here to our content manager. You can also use the F4 hotkey, by the way. And we're just going to apply a quick animation to Roger over here. Let's use this, use a talking one, I believe. There we go. Roger talk. And it's going to, of course, say the same thing. No worries.
Trust me, you can animate the first time too.
Okay, and we'll just take our project length slider all the way down here because we want this to loop. Okay, so if I play back, notice his hands.
Trust me, you can animate the first time too.
Look kind of silly.
Trust me, you can animate the first time.
Take the audio off there. Okay, so with a bone hand character, we can actually combine our lead motion animation with this template animation. And there's a couple of ways we can do that. I'll show you the easiest way first. We don't necessarily need to remove the animation from our character's arms, but we can, and I'll show you that a little bit later on. What we're going to do first is just go ahead and preview. We're going to use Forearm IK, okay? Because I like the character's natural shoulder movements in this animation. We can use our own shoulder movements as well, but I want to keep these, but I want to customize the forearm movements. So we're going to choose Forearm IK. We're going to choose a front-facing profile and preview. And again, both hands are controlled by my left hand, so they're both going to do the same thing simultaneously. Press space key. Okay, so we can move my hand around like this. And notice when we do that, I can actually make my own custom like gestures for when my character's talking. I can use a peace sign like this. Okay, just a hang loose sign. Okay, the devil horns, whatever. Okay, and you can just make it look very natural, as if your character is just gesturing the way you'd want him to gesture in some sort of passionate speech or something like that. Okay. Cool. It's kind of hard to do this stuff live, and my arm gets really tired, actually. You don't realize how tired your arm gets after like holding it up for like half an hour. Okay, but that's basically how you do it. And I mean, once you're, make sure obviously that you have a loop on, which I have right here where my mouse is. You can select that on or off. Once you're satisfied with your practice runs, then you can just go ahead and record it live. So I can go ahead and just record like this and press space and then. Okay, pretty cool. And, maybe we looped our hand a little bit the wrong way at one point, like here. Yeah, it looks okay. Barely noticeable. You can always cut that out though. Okay, so there's our custom animation that we did with our character just in like 2 seconds. So let's just give it another playback and see if it looks natural.
Trust me, you can animate the first time too. Trust me, you can animate the first time too.
I'm pretty satisfied with that. I mean, you can always do, you can always modify it in various other ways as well. But let's go ahead and keep that. Now, the other way I'm going to show you here is you can actually completely remove the character's animation, the animation from the character's arms. And the way we do that is close down our content manager now. Let's press F3 to go into our timeline. And we're going to go into our motion clip, the Roger talk motion clip here. If we right click on that, we can select remove motion. Okay, bam. And it gives us this option here. Where do we want to remove the motion? Well, in this case, I want to remove the motion from, let's say, my forearms, my left arm, my left forearm, all the left hand stuff, basically. Okay, right arm, right forearm, right hand, and right finger, right hand nub, whatever. Okay, so it's going to remove everything from my character's hands. I'm going to go ahead and remove. You can see now they just pop straight out like this in a default position. But our character is still going to have the same body movements. If we play back.
Trust me, you can animate the first time too.
I wouldn't trust a guy that stands like that or that gestures like that. So let's go ahead and use our own custom animation. We're going to use the upper arm IK now to generate that animation. So I'm going to go to plugins here, Motion Live 2D. Let's load that up again. Same thing. Okay, everything's fine. This time, let's go ahead and choose the right hand. So I'm going to use both my hands this time. Now, every time that you adjust the actor control in the control panel here, you want to reset your zero pose. Okay, very important to note. So I'm just going to go ahead and reset zero pose. And we go ahead and start it. Okay, hands straight out like this. 2, 1. Don't worry about his dancing up there on the left. Focus on the poses I'm using. Set zero pose again. All right, cool, complete. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give ourselves a little bit of upper arm IK action and go to preview. Okay, so now we can, you know, you want to be careful with upper arm IK because you're really kind of, if you go like too far inwards like this, like my hands are really close together, it'll look like his elbows are really close together. So try and keep them apart like this a little bit and more like up and down, okay? All right, so we'll just go ahead and record something really quickly for that. And upper arm, another thing about upper arm is it's not as good as lower arm IK at what's called this forearm perspective. Okay, it's disabled right now, but if we go to a forearm IK and we preview this, you can see forearm perspective is enabled. And if we preview now, notice that our forearms can kind of like go almost like they're in front of the character. So it's like they're stretching. Okay, so you can stretch like this out. When we go like this towards our character's body, it's almost like they're in a 3D perspective. Okay, and sometimes that's what you want. We can go ahead and keep this like that. You know, there's no shoulder movements this time, but we can go ahead and do that as well. But I'm going to try my luck with the upper arm IK, and we can always fix this later as well. So I'm going to choose upper arm IK. We'll preview it a couple times just to get my bearings again. Okay, I feel like I'm conducting an orchestra here. Okay, let's go ahead and work with that. I'm just going to go ahead and press record. Okay, ends up with kind of a peace sign. All right, so we've kind of combined those two, and we have custom upper IK now. So
Trust me.
now my shoulders are customized. Let's take that voice off there. All right, so if I play back really quick, let's take a look. Again, the first frame is going to mess around like that a little bit. So you want to go back to your, maybe a frame like this. Okay. What I'll do is I'll just take my project length slider, move it up a little bit. And we're going to use the 3D motion key editor. I got to go quick here because we've got a couple more examples to go. And let's take our arms and kind of move them into a more natural initial position, just like this. And there we go. Maybe something like that. Okay. But then here, we want to go ahead and press reset. Okay, for the full body. Okay, so we just want to have a more natural starting position there. Okay, and then here, everything is normal. Everything looks fine. If we want, we can throw in something like, let's press reset for the full body. And then here we can maybe stretch the bone out a little bit, just like that. So stretch his arm out like that. And then maybe reset it here. We have that small little stretch there, like that. And that's just really how you can get my phone out of here. That's really how you can just kind of modify after you've done the capture. If here we think the you know, the position is a little bit too far inwards to his elbow, we can just take that out. Okay, we can stretch it out like that. Here we'll just okay. So if something doesn't look right, you can switch it up like that. And at this point here, after you've done the 2D motion key editing, any of the editing that you want, you can also use the hand pose editor there as well. But when you use the hand pose editor, it's important to make sure you add your keyframes at the right, whoops, I accidentally clicked there, sorry. It's important to add your keyframes at the right time. So say, for example, right here, let's get rid of that bone on the character's hands there. Okay, we'll close that down. So say, for example, right here, we want to have a custom pose, like we wanted a peace symbol here. We think our peace symbol is not close enough. So what we can do here is we want to select our character's left hand, okay? We want to set a key for the selected part here. And let's just close down all the other stuff that's not necessary here. So we'll close down the right fingers, close down all the right stuff. Okay, let's focus on the character's left hand here. Okay, so we had that keyframe. You can see it added to our left hand right here. Okay, let's just move that over here actually, just for simplicity's sake. And then here, if we wanted to make it more of a peace symbol, then what we would do is we just go into our hand pose editor here, and we choose the pose. What is that pose again? 2. Yeah, this 2B here. Okay, like that. And you can see it adds that keyframe right there. Okay, and then it switches back into the regular pose. But then you want to make sure that you here. Where is our left finger there? So this is where we added the left finger pose right here. So that's the left finger transform. And it'll go back into position right here. And we've reset it already right here. So I've already done the reset for the other one. So we stretched it out. We did the peace pose right here. And it goes back into the normal hands that we had. Okay. It just makes it look more natural when you're able to just, you know, I can't even tell you how long it would take to animate all these finger movements separately, one at a time. But the Leap Motion controller is huge for, you know, allowing you to do it in seconds, really. And you can just add on custom animation after that. Any more questions about that? I'll be more than happy to answer those later. But let's go ahead now and take a look at a custom character. So I'm going to make this full size now and go into a new project. And this is a hand bone character that comes with 4.2. So let's find that character in the content manager. We have under actor, we have G3 human. No, sorry, we have, it's under G3 hand bone. Where is it here? It's under animals. Bone hand. So under G3 characters, okay, not G3 360, under G3, G3 bone hand, we have this bone hand spider. Okay, we're going to bring him in. Now this spider is generated using the character's hand bone. And this is where you can find all the other default characters as well. So this dummy character, and you can use your own sprites to replace this character. We'll probably have a webinar on that in the future. Let's take a look at the structure of this spider here, again, by going into the 2D motion layer editor. If we go into zoom in a little bit here, you can see all the bones right here. We'll go into hierarchy view there. And you can see all the separate bones on the spider where they correspond to, if I can click them there. Just like this. Okay, it's the left finger, the nub. Okay, so this is left finger 3 or 30 right there. Okay, so these are basically just, these correspond to the template bone hand on your characters. Now, the cool thing about this character is it also has a forearm bone up here. This forearm bone is the long bone that goes from the character, from the base here all the way up to the spider. And this forearm bone allows us to move the spider up and down with our forearm. Okay, so let's take a look at how to do that. Let's close down here. Let's go back into, come on, yeah, there we go. And go back into our motion live, load up our Leap Motion controller, hand. There we go. I'm just going to use my left hand only. So set everything back to left hand. Set 0 pose every time when you have a new character. Okay, start. Capturing a straight hand. Capturing a clenched fist. Boom. Okay, so you notice a couple things here when I preview that if I move my hands like up and down like this, my spider's eyes are going to move like weird back and forth like that. Okay. And we're going to choose forearm IK. Right now, we're only using hand control mode. So if we go up to forearm IK over here and give it a preview, let's take a look what this does. Now, if we move to the side, we can actually split our spider in two, which is not something we want to do. So again, we need to go to our strength slider here, and hands move left and right. We want to change that to 0. Okay. So now, even if I move my hand on the diagnostic visualizer there, it's not going to move the spider's position. And there's also hand rotate. Okay, we're going to change that to 0. And now our spider's eyes will constantly be centered. Okay, so we have my fingers controlling the spider's legs. And we can auto hand flip. We can flip the spider over. Whoop, whoop. Okay, so you can do like this, like a dying spider on the sidewalk or something. All right, so pretty cool. It's very easy and simple to get that set up. If I just go ahead and record, let's press record here and do a quick version of this. I have the spider like move down a little bit, move up on the web, move down on the web, and then just flips over and dies. Okay, and I'll stop that. So if I play back, there's my spider kind of moving his legs, slowly going down or up his web, and then just dying. Okay, so pretty fun. I mean, it's pretty cool. You can create characters like this if you have the right sprites. You just have to use the same bone structure, and you can totally control them. It doesn't have to be 8 legs. It can be like 3 legs, 4 legs, 5 legs. Okay, it's really only limited by the amount of fingers that you have. You can be really creative with creating your own characters there. All right, one final project I'm going to show you before we get to the Q&A here. Whoops, let's go to the projects here. I'm going to throw in this piano project here. This is going to be me playing the piano terribly. No, we don't need to save that. We're also going to use, in this case, some facial mocap. Okay, so let's go ahead to our desktop here, and we need to load up the Face 3D tracker. Right, so you're going to see my ugly mug. Apologies for the furniture assembly stuff in the background there, but I'll get that assembled one of these days. Anyway, so that's the face tracker. That's me. Okay, we're going to make this. Why is key light up here? We're going to just make always on top for now. Okay, we don't need to see my face too much. I'm just going to kind of show you how I can control this guy's face. So let's go ahead and select him. Motion Live plugin. Let's bring it down here. Come on. Okay, maybe we don't need the diagnostic visualizer for now, but now that we have the Face 3D tracker, again, this comes with the 2D mocap suite for Cartoon Animator 4. So we're now just going to select Face 3D. It's enabled, so you can see status connected right there. And here we have to also set a 0 pose. We need to select our face first. So Leon, this pianist right here, we'll just select Face 3D. What? Okay, and then we need to set a 0 pose. So a 0 pose is just like your basic neutral pose. Okay, so let's just go ahead and, okay, so we set a 0 pose, and then we can just go ahead and preview. You can see me move my head back and forth like this. So like a 360 head, he can move back and forth, and then okay, so we have that all set up. Let's go ahead and combine that with the Leap Motion Controller. So we're going to select Leap Motion Controller, activate that. Oops, we need to stop previewing first. Select that and select our hand, Leap Motion Controller. There we go. So now again, we have to, let's get this in the background. I'll make our diagnostic visualizer in the front. And let's set a 0 pose for our hands. Oh, yeah, we'll just go ahead and do that. It doesn't matter right now. Let's make sure, actually, let's make sure we have the hands on separate controls. Yep, okay, separate controls. And we also need to choose a different profile for our hands. Okay, these are side-facing characters, so we need to choose a side-facing hands profile over here on the top. Okay, and for control mode, we're going to use the whole arm, upper arm IK, Shazam, like that. Okay, and then if we set 0 pose, let's do that quickly. start. Ready, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and then clench. Okay, so now we have the ability to use upper arm IK and preview, and we can move my character's hands forward like this. Right arm has to be a little bit more, and like this. Sometimes it's hard to get this. So my left arm is controlling the character's right arm, and my right arm is controlling the character's left arm. Okay, you can see me rotating my head and talking. Ah, la, la, la. Okay, so if we wanted to, go ahead and record that, quick process, record, space, and let's get my, oh, what do we do here? Mess something up. Something is not recording properly. Oh no. I think I may have busted something. May have accidentally clicked something. There's me. Okay, something is a little bit off there. All right, we'll try and cancel that somehow. Okay, it's my character stopped into position now. Seems like a wee bit of a bug. Let's take Cartoon Animator. We'll have to restart it, I believe. Okay, anyways, that's basically the end of the webinar. So any questions you have, I'm going to answer those now. I guess I'll leave the diagnostic visualizer running there. Let's close down the task manager. And once again, load up Cartoon Animator. Okay, guys, so now's your time to get all the questions in the Q&A panel there again. And I'll answer any of those questions you guys have. Just took a quick look at the chat window there. Okay, let's get started. First question from Phineas. Can you use leap motion for animals and insects and things that fly, such as bats and birds? Yeah, you can. However, keep in mind that you need to use that hierarchy that I showed you earlier. Plug in, whoops. The same hierarchy as that spider had. So what you need to do is you need to take that spider's hierarchy into Photoshop. If you have the pipeline version of Cartoon Animator 4, you can load that directly into Photoshop, and you can replace all those sprites. So in case you're not aware, let's try and find that spider again there under bone characters. So here's the, you can use this bone hand as well. So this is just a non-human bone hand. This is another example of something we have. You can use, since we have leap motion running, let's take a look at this one here. Plug in motion live, blah, blah, blah. Let's do a quick setup here. The hand, set 0 pose. Whoops, let's just make both controlled by my left hand. And let's use Forearm IK just in case. Set 0 pose. Oh, shoot, I did it for 5 seconds this time. So we just have to wait a little bit longer. So basically, this is just a bone template, and you can replace all those sprites on the whatever that is, weird alien spacecraft of some sort. All right, so both things are being controlled by my left hand. And let's make sure our hands move left, right is down to 0. Shoot, there we go. So I have this weird, creepy looking object, whatever it is, okay? Flip over, and there you go. So this one, only the bottom few fingers or digits or whatever are enabled. Okay, but what you can do is you can use this object here and take it into, let's close it down for now. Take it into Photoshop using the composer mode here. And what you would do is you would just replace all of these different sprites here. So this one, for example, is separate from this one. Okay, So they're basically just all different sprites. You can see the sprites over here, and we'd have to replace each one of these, or we could take it into Photoshop, launch PSD editor, yada, yada. And that'll load up Photoshop, which will probably ask me to log in like it always does. And you can just replace those with whatever images you want. So, I mean, I don't have to show you this whole process, but if you're not familiar with it, this is the process you'd go through if you have the pipeline version. Okay, so you'd see this image right here. It's this right here. If I make that invisible, that's going to be one leg of my object, whatever it is. So you just have to use this as a template. You can also use the spider as a template too and load it into Photoshop. We probably have some tutorials on this in the future. If you guys want to learn more about that, then definitely put that in the feedback form, and we'll have some tutorials on it to help you guys out creating your own hand puppet characters in the future. So I could replace this with whatever I wanted, you know, to turn it like whatever color, black. Okay, just to show you how you can edit it. Imagine this is like a spider leg instead of, you know, whoopsie doodle. Oops, make sure we have the right finger selected there. Anyways, you get the point. There you go. And so on and so forth. Half an hour later, boom, we have some kind of weird animal, but I'm not going to take you that whole process right now. But yeah, hopefully that explains that kind of how you could customize your own hand bone characters, Phineas. David asks, can we see the face of our tutorialist? Yeah, that's me. I think you already saw my face. This was asked at 6:15, so yeah. Everyone's doing work from home stuff right now. Nobody has makeup or fancy hair. Yeah, so Joe asks, do we have Leap Motion for Mac users as well? Yep, Leap Motion for Mac and PC just the same. And the cool thing about buying the Leap Motion controller is if you buy the Leap Motion controller and you buy the profile, the gear profile, that gear profile also works for iClone as well. So you only need to buy the gear profile once, and it'll work for both programs. Okay, which is pretty cool. And the same goes for everything else. Like the perception neuron full body mocap, as well as 3. Yeah, there's a Mac version already out for this. Cartoon Animator 4 has Mac. This is a question from Francis, by the way. Cartoon Animator 4 has everything available on Mac, just like PC. Okay. iClone is limited to PC, unfortunately, and I don't think that's going to change in the near future. Okay, next question is from Julius. Does the Leap Motion controller work better with the head mount or with a device sitting on a desktop? So head mount would be, you don't use the head mount for the Leap Motion controller. The Leap Motion controller basically just sits on your desktop. I mean, you could MacGyver up some kind of contraption to use it in a different way, but I think that generally just having it on the desktop is what works the best. The cool thing is, I mean, if you wanted to, you could have one person doing the facial mocap and another person doing the hand mocap at the same time. So when I was doing that piano playing, it was my face and my hand, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the same person. You know, it could be 2 separate people, one person in front of the webcam, one person has the Leap Motion controller somewhere else, just like that. Hopefully that answers your question there, Julius. Any further questions about a head mount, you can feel free to ask. Next question is from James. When calibrating open and fisted hands, can you match the left to the right by copying the settings and entering them to the opposite hand? You can't do that, unfortunately, but like I showed earlier, the best way is just to use one hand to control, like one of your hands to control both hands of the character. That's, you know, if you want to keep things consistent on both sides, that's just what I do always. Unfortunately, you can't copy the data from the calibration data from one to the other, because it has to see both of your hands for that. Otherwise, it's just taking the data from one hand and mirroring it to the other hand. Okay, so question from Don. What about shoulder movement using the Leap Motion controller and Motion Live 2D? Yeah, so the shoulder movement, I kind of showed you with the upper arm IK there. Okay. Shoulder movement, like upper arm IK, you got to be very careful with it. It takes a lot of tweaking of the settings to get perfectly. I didn't really bother tweaking any of the settings, but I find that taking down the strength for left and right often works, because with upper arm IK, what it'll do, it'll often put those elbows in towards the character too much. So you have to be careful of that. Next question is from Tim. Any plans on using a head mount since Leap Motion documentation says it's more accurate? I've never used a head mount for Leap Motion controller. We're only using it for hands right now. So as far as I know, having it on the head wouldn't be beneficial at this point. Yeah, I've never experimented with it on the head. So yeah, maybe you guys know more about that than I do, but I've only used the Leap Motion controller for hands. Okay, next question is from Tim. Any way to make the Leap Motion controller work with a free bone character? So right now we're limited to that. Well, I guess it could be like a free bone character. The template that I showed you, the template character, you don't have to use all those bones. You can maybe only use some of them. But that's the template that's the bone template that works with the Leap Motion controller right now. So you would have to use that template. Again, you could delete some of the sprites if you wanted. Like say for example, over here, I didn't want to have this section on my. I want to delete one of the legs. All this does. Don't worry about those little crosshairs there. Those just represent the bone positions. But these are the sprites. So if I wanted to just delete all of those, then my alien robot thing here would only have 6 legs, okay, instead of 10. So it's really up to you. You can change this. I can make this into like a smiley face if I wanted. Let's do that. That seems like it would be fun to do. Take away the bones there. Again, you can deselect, disable all the bones by, not disable them, just to make them disappear. Toggle the visibility off by selecting this one up here. Let's select this bad boy. And yeah. All right, if we save that in Cartoon Animator, we're going to have some weird looking dude like this. I go back to stage mode here, and then let's try that really quickly and see what the results look like. The motion controller, and we don't bother with the 0 pose right now. Let's just preview. Hey, oh shucks! There's my smiling weird spider dude. All right, good enough. Yeah, that's how you customize it. Hopefully you have more skill than me to make it look a little bit better than some happy face like that. But yeah, let's move on to the next section here. Next question. Jacob asks, as a new animator, what 2D motion key edit would be best to start with and then graduate to? So Cartoon Animator has a lot of motion tools. The facial animation right here. This is the facial puppet tool. Oops. Right here. Very simple. We have a bunch of tutorials on the website. In case you guys aren't aware, Cartoon Animator. Oops. Animator. Let's just do that. I'll put a link for the Learning Center in case you guys want to learn more. The main page, we go over here to Learn and Tutorials. I'll just paste that in the chat window for you there. Okie dokes. Yeah, tons of tutorials that I've done over the centuries that talk about different ways of animating. These are ones I just did on the 2D finger animation. So I kind of showed this briefly in today's webinar at the beginning. Hand bones and 2D finger animation. There's also more 2D animation tutorials down here. But in terms of what's the easiest, obviously it's the puppet stuff, the facial puppet tool. But yeah, motion key editing gets a little bit more difficult, although it doesn't have as much difficulty as iClone, but it's still, this is where you're going to find your answers for whatever function you're looking for. Eric asks, are you using version 2 or version 4 of the Leap software? I don't know. Looks like version 4. Yeah, I use the version 4. I installed the dev version. I know there's a regular version and a dev version. I just installed the developer version because I may need to do some stuff with that in the future. But yeah, use version 4. Phineas asks, can you make the spider walk? Yeah, you can definitely make the spider walk. All you would have to do is just animate it. If I wanted to, for example, let's get rid of our ugly looking, it's pretty creepy, this clown face or something. Holy smokes, the spider's a lot bigger. Scared me. I don't like spiders. Let's do the same thing here. Select our character. Change it to 2 seconds because nobody needs 5 seconds. Let's make sure that both hands are controlled by my left hand, since I want to do that. So yeah, it's just a matter of doing that animation and then moving the spider using a transform keyframe. You wouldn't be able to move it, unfortunately, using the Leap motion controller because the forearm bone only goes up and down. All right, complete. Let's take our strength. Oh, we're using the hand rotation off. And zoop. Okay, so that looks kind of like a spider walking, right? I think. Not sure how spiders walk with their legs. Record a couple seconds of that. There you go. So then what you would do is you could just go to like maybe from here to frame 70 or something, move the spider over here. Right, then he's kind of like walking over there. And if you wanted him to move forward, from here to here, whoops, holy smokes, that was wrong. You can do this. Have him move forward towards us. Dun, dun, dun. Let's make it really scary. Even though the spider looks kind of goofy. So it's kind of creeping sideways and then coming towards us. Ah, it's not really fast. That would be more scary. But there you go. Okay, that's how you move him. Anyways. Yeah. Next question is from Julius. Is it possible to apply iClone 3D body motions to a G3 character? No, only to G2 characters right now. We're working on getting that available for G3 characters. That'll be in the future, but right now you can only apply the 3D motions to G2 characters, okay? So G2 characters don't have the option for hand bones, okay? Just be aware of that. G3 characters only. So we're got a little bit of work to do to consolidate all of the different versions of characters and their capabilities. Next question is from Raymond. If you purchase the Mocap perception neuron, will that allow you to do the hand motions also? Also, can the G2 character animate with the perception neuron? Your character needs a bone structure to animate with the perception neuron. But you can, the perception neuron does have a glove. In the perception neuron studio, they do have a glove, which we support as well. That works quite nicely with perception neuron. Obviously not a lot more expensive, but significantly more expensive than the perception or than the Leap motion controller. So it really depends on your budget, but we do support both. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Question from Candy. In order to use the hand mocap, do you have to have the Leap? Yes, you have to have the Leap Motion controller. So again, you can purchase it from one of their dealers. Whoops, I closed the webpage. I'm not sure if they sell it for themselves because I purchased it up here in Canada. They just shipped it to me from a reseller, I believe, and shipped it like within a day. I got it like within 24 hours, which is amazing. So really good. Next question from Joe. Please consider Relusion Mac users for Leap Motion. Yeah, we do have should be available for Mac users, no problem. I don't see any reason why it's not. As far as I know, it's available for Mac just as much as PC. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe they have been released at the same time. All right, yeah. Phineas, if you want to see those tutorials, make sure you fill out that survey form and write that up in the survey form. Okay, Mark asks, if I don't have any of what you demonstrated tonight, what do I need to purchase? And more importantly, what will it cost me? Yeah, you just need to purchase the Leap Motion controller. Yeah, so I think that's a good thing to go through really quickly here. If you're starting from scratch, because I get asked this question pretty often, if you don't have anything, what you need to get is whatever version of a Cartoon Animator you want. I recommend pipeline version just because if you want to customize your characters in Photoshop, it's a lot better. So you need obviously Cartoon Animator 4, pipeline or pro version, depends on you. And then you also need the Motion Live plugin. Okay, so we have bundles here that basically give you what you need. So you do need the Motion Live 2D plugin, which is this one right here. It's 2D Facial Mocap Suite. Okay, so you need these two basically. And after these two, all you need is just the controller. So if you want like everything that I demonstrated today, it's in this package right here. Okay. Yeah, and it comes with yeah. So again, if you buy the Leap Motion controller for Cartoon Animator, you also have it for iClone. Okay, so buy a 2D mocap profile and get a 3D one free. Okay, so keep that in mind. Yeah, the hardware is separate, so you need to buy the hardware separately from Leap Motion themselves. Okay, next question. Oh, Doug Jones mentions head mount is for VR. Yeah, we don't have that available yet for Cartoon Animator 4. Yeah, I have taken a look at that for VR development, but that may be the next frontier for us. We'll see. So Kirk says, does the 3D face tracker work with Connect and iClone or just webcam? It's only webcam. Okay, so the embedded face 3D tracker that I showed you earlier with my ugly mug there, that is only working with webcam. Okay, you also have the option for iPhone 10 or above, but yeah, in terms of webcam or face tracker, it's only for the webcam, which is cool because I mean, honestly, if you know the 3D software to use the webcam, you have to use the Faceware gear profile, which is quite, it's not cheap. Ismail asks, do we need any extra hardware to use the Leap Motion controller? Nope, just the Leap Motion controller itself. It's like this little thing. I'll show you here really quick. I'll just show myself on the face 3D tracker so we can see me. So it's just this little thing, literally. It's this little like USB drive, and you just put it flat on your desk, and you can control the world. You can control multitudes of 2D characters. Yeah, so that's that. Bye. Okay, that's that question for you. Next question from Dawn. You can animate the head movement first and then animate hands after. Yeah, so one thing that's important to note with animation in Cartoon Animator is if you want, I can go one round animating the hands, and then I can layer over that animating the head separately. So I don't have to animate them at the same time. Like if I'm really bad at multitasking with my hands and my expressions at the same time, I can do them separately on separate recordings, okay? Especially for that piano one, it's difficult to position your arms properly and your face at the same time. So you can layer over the animation as well. I can go 2 or 3 takes, and you can layer over, layer over, layer over. And that's kind of why I showed you flattening earlier, like flattening the motion clip, because you basically just do all your editing, and then you can flatten it, and then you can do more editing on top of that and flatten it again, and so on and so forth. We can probably do a tutorial on that someday. Yeah, so Phineas mentions here one video that you saw was using a head mount. So for our head mount, we use right now iPhone 10 and Faceware. Okay, so Faceware is like your webcam, little webcam you can attach to a head mount. iPhone 10 is attaching your iPhone 10 to a head mount, and you can purchase the gear profiles. I want to make sure to emphasize this. We only sell the software. We don't sell the hardware. Okay, so the hardware is sold separately. You need to purchase whatever hardware you want. And once you purchase that hardware, you need to purchase the separate gear profile for whatever hardware you've purchased. Okay, just keep that in mind. Kirk asks, is Face 3D Tracker a replacement for iClone? Face 3D Tracker is kind of like our own proprietary stuff. And that's potentially going to be improved in the near future. So stay tuned for that. Possibly transitioning into iClone. There's a lot of moving parts with that. I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's a possibility. Tim asks, yeah, I have I have a head mount for Leap controller, but the gear location won't change from desktop to head. I'm not really familiar too much with the head mount, so I'm not qualified to answer questions on that. Apologies, all of you who are interested in the head kind of stuff for the Leap motion controller. Let's move on to the next question, though. Julian asks, will it be possible to use the Xbox Connect plugin with Motion Live 2D? We've basically kind of discontinued development on the Xbox Connect for now. It's not going to be available for 2D for Cartoon Animator, unfortunately, Julius. So yeah, Xbox Connect, we've discontinued development on that. We still do support it, but there's no more development going on at this time. Yeah, for Eric, we're using version 4 of the Leap Motion software. Question from Ratnadeep. Does it capture every jerk while capturing data from the Leap Motion controller? I would say honestly, for the money, you get a good bang for your buck with the Leap Motion controller. You can get some really accurate capture if you know how to work it. You know, it really gets a good bang for your buck. That's like I said, it's $100, and you get some really. If you know how long it takes to animate fingers, you're definitely going to be like, ah, yes, this is something I definitely need for $100. Because animating fingers takes forever and it's annoying. Yeah, well, Leap Motion's definitely a step up from doing keyframe animation for your fingers, unless you like to spend hours moving every joint on your fingers. Okay. Question from Judy. All right, thanks for attending, Judy. Glad you got your Leap Motion controller all ordered. It's a funky little device. Definitely worth it, in my opinion. Do Photoshop sprites transfer to Cartoon Animator 3 automatically? It's a question from Kirk. You need to save the process I showed you earlier where I customized that weird alien robot thing. You need to have pipeline version to do that. And all you need to do is load it up in Photoshop. And once you save it in Photoshop, once you save the project in Photoshop, then it's going to automatically update to Cartoon Animator right after that. Right, question from Chad. Why couldn't the Leap Motion controller be configured to capture full body motion of a puppet? It can only do so much. It's basically like this little controller. I mean, press enough that it can do your upper arm and everything like that. Again, it is utilizing human IK to do that, but it does get good capture for the forearms and fingers. So yeah, you'll have to ask the developers for that. Phineas asks, is there an in and out to define the workspace in Cartoon Animator 4? I think maybe you're talking about the project length sliders, which are these ones down here. You can just click and drag these little red triangles for however long you want your project. Right. Those are also in the timeline as well. Click on timeline. You can see them here. All right. Next question is from Nikki. Would it be possible to use leap motion for the legs of a space robot? Yeah, definitely. Like I kind of showed you that template there. If you were able to, if you were a good artist and you could change all those leg parts to like a space robot, yeah, definitely. You could do that. That'd be really cool. You could sell it in the marketplace too. Probably have a lot of users who would want to buy a hand controllable robot. So Tim mentions here that the leap motion strap to the head pointing at the hands is more accurate than on the desktop. I've never tried that method, but so I can't speak to its accuracy, but that's a possibility. I would just feel that if it's in a steady, unmoving position, then it would be more accurate capture. But if you mention that from having it from the head is more accurate, I'd definitely like to explore that. Possibly we could do that in future tutorials. We'll see once I start experimenting with it more. Doug asks, what's the cost for the Leap Motion software and drivers? All you need is just the Leap Motion controller hardware. All the software that comes free. So this diagnostic visualizer, all this stuff I showed you earlier was all free with the hardware. No, so Ratnadeep asks, is it manufactured by different companies? No, it's just a single company. You can purchase it from different resellers. And that'll change depending on where you are in the world. Question from Eric. Oh, okay, a different looking Leap Motion controller. This is the one I've always had, but it's, yeah, I love this little thing. It's pretty cool. I like when technology is really simple and easy to use. You know, this thing just works, like plug and play basically. And no, I don't work for the company. I just really enjoy the hardware. James asks, could you demo a new character that has additional angles? Yeah, we can demo a side character, just like the, I'll do a quick demo for a side character. Again, I would have to just replace the hands on the bones really quick. So if we took side-facing Philip, for example, and I can take this opportunity to show you different profiles as well. Let's zoom in on him. Hello, Philip. Motion live, motion controller, hands, shabadoo. Oh, yeah, of course. So we're gonna swap out the hands real quick like. And oops, Philip, there we go. That doesn't really matter. Okay, where were we? Motion live, the motion. Have the character selected. Okay, so we also have the profiles I mentioned earlier. There's right facing 45 degrees, left facing. Our character is right facing. Okay, so we're going to click that. This one here is like male supported sit. There's male relaxed sit. So this is just different profiles for your character, like supported sit. This is a good one right here. Let's quickly set a zero pose for both hands here. Starto. And once you're done that, your character will pop into that pose. As you can see, he's in that seated pose there. Okay, and once we start previewing, we'll get into that seated pose. Oh, we need to change from hand control to, let's do upper arm IK there. Otherwise he's gonna look really weird. Okay, so, there I am typing. And it's really hard because for this one, you have to keep your character's right hand in front of the left hand. Okay, because they're not equally distant from each other or from the character's chest. So there's my typing animation. I probably want to adjust the wrist's position slightly, but telling a campfire story to the kids. Ooh. All right, enough of that shenanigans. Yeah, that's a demo for you there, James. Nothing too different from the front facing. Just remember to have the whatever position you want. You can have your character relaxed, active, so on and so forth. Okay. Phineas purchased from Arrow. I believe that's probably a reseller down in the States. Okay, so Kirk wants to know about the G2 and G3 characters. Let's take a quick look at the difference. We do have a tutorial on this that is fairly in detail. What am I doing here? Okay. Oh, yes. Didn't see that. So this is a G3 character. Okay, so G3 characters have bone structures, and they have 360 heads. Okay, so their heads can rotate. I'll take a quick look at this guy. So zoom in on his face. We'll use the face puppet tool. Okay, so you can see his face will move around like this. This is a G3 360 head character. However, the body is restricted to this profile. However, you are able to, like I showed before, have the forearms kind of in front of the shoulders to give that perception of depth, simulation of depth. G2 characters. Let's go to a G2 plus character. Saul, whatever. Takes me back. So Saul, if we go to use the 2D motion key editor, notice for this character, there's no bones, okay? There's just transform positions like this. There's the pose. You can say, oh, gee, okay? You can move the character like that. However, if we click over to our boy, what's his name again? Philip. Then he has bones, okay? So you need bone structure to utilize the motion capture, okay? And, but the cool thing about Saul here is I can press the bracket key on my keyboard and he'll move into different profiles like this. Okay, and obviously we want to change that to animation a little bit, but there you go. That's the cool thing about G2 characters is they have all these different profiles, and we're working on getting that available for the other characters as well. The G3 characters, they'll probably be called G4 characters or something by that point, but they'll have similar capabilities in the future. The cool thing about G2 characters is you can apply 3D animations to them as well. If I go to like my, let's try and find my content folder for Reallusion stuff. Shut up. No. Motions. I just don't want to load up iClone right now. So I'm just going to find some silly motion here. This may look kind of weird, but we'll see. Let's see how the hit combo looks on this character. So again, this is an iClone motion. Okay. So that's a 3D motion that we applied to our character. We can change his profile like this. So rotate him. So this is a 3D motion applied to a G2 character. So pretty cool. It's a really, and again, that's going to be available for future characters, not just the G2 characters. It's really interesting that you can apply that 3D animation to a G2 character. You can't, unfortunately, apply that same motion to Phil over here, Philip. So if I try to apply it to him, you can see, nope, not allowed. Okay, so just be aware of that. And that's you need to have the pipeline version as well to apply those 3D motions to the G2 characters. Alrighty, let's move on to the next couple of questions here. Raymond asks, the perception neuron will not allow for G2 characters to walk. That's correct, because they don't have the bone structure. We don't have the data to drive them using motion capture, unfortunately. Okay. Yeah, so Phineas mentions $89 from Arrow. I believe that's American dollars, which is like $500 Canadian right now with the exchange rate. Michael says, I use Affinity Photo for my art tool. Will Cartoon Animator 4 pipeline work with that as other art products? Yep, Affinity Photo is fine. Whatever photo editing software you use, as long as it supports PSD format. Okay, that's important. It has to just support a PSD format, and you can use any one you want. A lot of people use GIMP. GIMP is a free photo editing software that works really well. Maybe a little bit slower, but definitely has most of the tools that Photoshop has. Kirk asks, what are the advantages of Crazy Talk compared to Animator? Crazy Talk Animator. Crazy Talk Animator is much better. We won't be continuing on with the development of Crazy Talk because it's kind of run its course. And everything that you can do in Crazy Talk 8, you can do in Cartoon Animator 4 anyways, pretty much. All right, so just be aware of that. Crazy Talk Animator also does full body animation, scenes, and everything like that. Crazy Talk itself is just talking heads, basically. Kirk asks here, can you bring mocap from iClone into CTA4? Yeah, so you can, but again, you'll be limited to those G2 characters. So, I mean, the workaround would be if you wanted to use motion capture on your G2 characters, you would save that into iClone, and then you would export that 3D motion like I just did onto your G2 character, the iMotion file. So Candy asks, does the face tracker use the same controller as the hand tracker? No, it does not. My face tracking was done using a webcam. The hand capture was done using Leap Motion controller. David asks, can we please have a smart gallery for Cartoon Animator 4? Yeah, smart gallery for Cartoon Animator 4 is in the works. In case of those, for those of you who don't know, smart gallery just allows you to install your any content within the program. You don't need to have separate installers and all that stuff. And a lot of other features, a lot of other benefits as well. Kirk, Connect, it won't work with Cartoon Animator 4. You cannot use Connect with Cartoon Animator 4. It only works with iClone because we only have the plugin for iClone. Michael says, missed whether facial mocap with webcam is the same as plugin for Leap Motion. The facial mocap with webcam comes with the mocap suite. Okay, so that'll come default when you purchase the Motion Live plugin there. The Leap Motion one is sold separately though. All right. Julius asks, is there approximate release date when G3 characters will be compatible with 3D motions from iClone? I really can't answer that question right now, but I do know it's in development. Possibly end of this year is what I'm thinking. But again, these things can always be earlier or later. But as we all know, they're probably most often a little bit later. Okay, I think I answered your question there, Kirk, the other one. Let's see. You can just click it. I'm just reading this question here. I think, Phineas, you're talking about the timeline in Cartoon Animator 4 compared to iClone. But I'm not really sure what feature is different because they all have the frame ahead, frame back, and end of project, beginning of project. Maybe they don't have pause in Cartoon Animator 4. But, yeah, I'm not super clear on that one. I'll move on to the next question anyways. Julius asks, does the recorded hand motion automatically switch to the character's angle? Like if you switch from a side profile to a front profile after you've already recorded the hand motions? No, because essentially the side profile and the front profile are different characters. They are not the same character. They're just totally different bone structures, and unfortunately, you can't apply one to the other. You can try, but it might look pretty weird. Like if I had this motion, for example, for Saul, and he's in a side profile. I go to animation, motion, let's say a G2 motion, whatever, it doesn't matter. Idle. You can see here the old school G2 motions. We have this one for 0 degrees, which is front facing. This one for 315, which is side facing. Okay. If we applied like a front facing motion to Tim right here, he'll pop into that front facing profile. Okay. If we apply the side facing, he'll pop into the side facing profile. Okay. So again, you can do that if you want to kind of simulate a turn on a character. So it almost looks like he's, 3D because he's kind of turning like that, but yeah, you get the point there. All right. Yeah, but you can't do it after the fact, especially for these front characters. Like this, I'll use it on this front facing fill here. G3 human motion, Turner's male. If I apply a side facing motion to him, like this, notice that he's kind of facing this side, and notice his left leg is really kind of like wacky. So that's, they don't fit exactly into each other. Let's try like a elastic folks. Yeah, the S, by the way, stands for side facing. I'm trying to apply an animation here. Just can't see everything. Let's do a move. So a side facing jump might look a little bit weird too, because yeah, you'll see here that his legs will be facing the side. Okay, so just be aware of that. Phineas asks, is it possible to add a bone structure to a boneless character? Yeah, you can do that for a free bone actor. You can create your own bone structure for sure. That's a free bone actor. Next question from Edward. Can you search for assets and characters by keywords, or is the only option to memorize where to find them? Yeah, so unfortunately, there's no ability to search in the content manager yet for Cartoon Animator 4, but we are, like I mentioned earlier, coming out with the Smart Gallery for Cartoon Animator 4 very soon, and that will include the ability to search. So yeah, it's kind of annoying, especially if you have a lot of content, but there is light at the end of the tunnel there for all of us, Edward. Okay, question from Kirk. Can we use iClone mocap animations with G2 GT? Yeah, you can't use Face Tracker app for facial mocap right now. We don't support that yet, Kirk. You can do walking mocap with Cartoon Animator 4. We have I have a tutorial on that using a perception neuron. That's in the learning center. I believe, where is that? It's somewhere in here. Animation, body animation. Nope. There is a tutorial on, yeah, I just did that. Oh, it's going to be in this section here. Maybe this is a tutorial for that. I don't recognize the, yeah, here we go. This one, getting started with 2D mocap. Okay, so it's in a totally different section here. So it'll be in your full body mocap tutorial section. This one here uses a perception neuron for full body mocap. I'll throw that in the chat window if you guys want. And then I think we're about done for the day. All right, thanks guys. Glad to be of service. Glad to help you out with all the stuff. One question more here from Kirk here. Audio tracks and character faces animate automatically. The characters with sprite faces, they're basically animated using sprite switching, which is different from the facial animation. So I showed you earlier the facial puppet. You can animate using morphs, like you can morph the character's face like this. So if I recorded like a couple seconds, let's just record like, hey, whoa, okay. So you can see the eyes like morphing like that. So here the eyes are getting like larger and just smaller, like from this frame here. Whoops. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so like that. However, you can also use sprite switching on this character to take the eye and go like this and change the eye to like a smile closed. But again, sprite switching, there's no transition. If I wanted to do the other way using the face key editor, then I would take the eye and transform it, or deform it probably, and go like this. And maybe take all these three points and just like up like that. Okay, so that's the difference between deforming and sprite switching. So let's see, like this one just closes and this one deforms. Okay, I think that's about all she wrote for today, guys. One question from Edward: is there any plans to add video formats that Cartoon Animator 4 can render in? Possibly, depending on the video formats. If you guys have any requests for like future video formats and stuff like that, put that in the feedback form, and we'll take a serious look at that, because our development team does look at all the feedback for Cartoon Animator 4 that we provide in the software here, or in the that you guys provide in your forms for the survey. Let us know what you think, and if you want any future tutorials on different topics. And I think we'll just kind of end off there, since we're kind of closing in on 2 hours here. We'll just close off there. Any other questions, you can always email me as well, kai@reallusion.com. It's kai@reallusion.com, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But for now, I think I'll just bid everyone adios, and good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. And yeah, make sure you check out all the other tutorials that we've done that cover different topics. And I'll leave it at that. So thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.